There is abundant evidence that governments have deep-seated plans, most likely to keep us at a low frequency of emotion by ensuring that our primary activities are work and consumption. The last thing they want is for billions of people worldwide to become aware of their mental power, to rise up and bring about change in this insane world. It's clear that something is seriously wrong when we look at the number of children who have to take medication because they are too active or stressed. What if children have much more potential than our school system or society allows them to have? What if children are subconsciously aware of the unnatural behavior of our society and are trying to resist becoming slaves to madness? Could that be why they behave as if they are literally out of control? It's simply wrong to medicate children because they have more energy or a greater creative mind than those who claim they are ill. Can you imagine how much profit the medical industry can make by labeling children as sick when they are not? Perhaps we should look at the amount of sugar these children consume daily. Can you imagine how many dentists would lose their jobs if the food, beverage, and candy industries stopped adding harmful substances to their products? That's the real story behind our society, the bigger picture, and it's high time to acknowledge that. Humanity is not foolish. We are simply misled and kept in the dark. Becoming the same as the average person on this planet is nothing to be proud of. It should be disturbing if everyone were to behave in the same way. Where is this leading us? Should most people transform into mindless zombies with a computer and a credit card in their hands? In a more advanced society, people should have the opportunity to discover themselves at a young age. But today, we are bound by an educational system that takes away almost every form of freedom and occupies nearly all our time and free thoughts. Schools should consider placing less emphasis on irrelevant subjects and replacing useless study materials with lessons in psychology, mental training, real human rights, and providing more opportunities for creative expression. This would give children the chance to explore the true potential of their individual minds, and that's when education truly becomes education. In our society, people are often not rewarded for being good individuals. On the contrary, kind and peaceful people are sometimes seen as having weak personalities, easy targets, too soft, or antisocial. It's high time for radical changes because we are becoming increasingly ignorant, controlled, and surveilled as we passively observe. Have you ever wondered, when was the last time you bought something you genuinely wanted, not just what you could afford financially? When did you last feel that excitement and joy you had as a child in a candy store? Not only is human consciousness reaching new heights, but so is human folly. Thousands of people intentionally harm themselves to become famous on the internet. They create painful videos to amuse others. Is this normal? What is wrong with humanity? Should we support this kind of behavior and teach it to our children? It seems that this kind of behavior is entirely acceptable in our modern society. We can't throw a cigarette on the street, but we can jump off buildings or hit each other for entertainment. This behavior gives governments justification to impose new rules that limit our freedom, all because many of us behave like monkeys playing with fireworks. In the near future, we will surely live in a completely different society than the one we live in today. We cannot continue on the same path and continue to behave like fools. Encouraging and promoting human folly does not really improve our society. It's something we can do without, because it only leads to more problems, more laws, and more restrictions. Isn't it clear that we're on the wrong track? Human ego, arrogance, ignorance, denial, spreading fear, our tendency to judge, our obsession with being better than others, jealousy, and many other negative traits of our human species will have to disappear if we don't want to be responsible for our own extinction. This is the direction we are heading if we continue to behave in this primitive way. Fortunately, it seems that life itself will not allow this, as evidenced by the growing group of people who are starting to wake up. This most likely includes you as you are reading this book. If the future of our species truly lies in space, if we really want to reach the stars, then it certainly won't be the egotistical, arrogant, or narrow-minded individuals who will get us there. We simply cannot afford to waste any more time. Once we understand that we have been taught to behave badly, we have the opportunity to change it. The moment something becomes a habit, we can be sure that life will challenge us to break that habit, especially when a bad habit harms our precious planet. It's amazing how many people try to control other people out of jealousy or intolerance. Ironically, the people who usually try to control others are often the same individuals who lack knowledge, who do not even know themselves, and who make the most mistakes. These are often the same kinds of people who have forgotten what kindness, honesty, or respect truly means. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Eleanor Roosevelt. It's easy to view all the negative aspects of our species as something bad, but in reality, they can serve as catalysts for change and growth, at least when we look at the bigger picture. These negative aspects of our behavior not only confront us with the consequences of our actions on our planet, but also remind us of our responsibility to take action. What initially appears wrong can easily turn out to be our greatest gift in hindsight. Our worst decisions from the past can provide us with enough insight to make a difference today and provide a reason to change. At any moment, we can accept the way our current society has been shaped since it exists and will not disappear anytime soon. It is now up to us to try to change the aspects of our current society that we abhor. We must learn from our past mistakes rather than continuing to make the same mistakes. Only then can we make progress. If we want to create a society based on peace rather than a society based on stress and frustration, we must take action, at the very least. It is only when we realize what we have done wrong that we can create a different world, a better place for the well-being of all human beings and all life on Earth. We are all searching for happiness, for the joy of life, something that is hard to find these days, especially when we watch the daily news. Everyone seems too caught up in their own personal problems rather than paying attention to the larger reality and the true source of most of our problems, which is our wrong way of thinking. We can increase our knowledge by asking questions about our personal experiences, our mentality, our behavior, our verbal expressions, the ignorance of other people, coincidences, and our negative way of thinking. We can even try to figure out why we are afraid to do certain things and much more. "Why does this always happen to me?" is an expression uttered thousands of times every day across the world. People wouldn't say such things if they were aware of the true power of their thoughts. Why do people perceive themselves as victims of society or life? What if people find the courage to transform this weak and powerless behavior into powerful emotions, like motivation or courage? What if we try to understand why certain things keep recurring in our lives? What if we have the courage to ask bigger questions? What if we take a risk? We can literally change everything around us in a positive way, but not by running away from our problems, not by ignoring or denying them. Fear is just another emotion, and we can learn how to control it and stop it from dominating our lives. We all know what love is, but most of us lose control when we lack it. It's as if we often believe that love, or an emotion based on the frequency of love, won't return if we lose it for only a short period. Why don't we have enough faith in life to go with the flow? Why don't we trust that love or happiness will come back after a moment of sadness or disappointment? Why can't we see that everything follows a cycle in which emotions oscillate between positive and negative? Living life with more knowledge about our brains, our human capabilities, and the actual thought manifestation process should fascinate the entire human race. Yet most of us are too busy speculating and worrying about the past or the possible future. Freedom can never be achieved with the current mindset of the average person. If we continue to act as we do today, we will simply repeat history over and over again, and that doesn't look promising. We cannot create a better world for the next generation if we continue to invest our energy in wrong beliefs, judgments, worries, and so on. What's worse is that we're teaching the next generation to behave the same way, causing children to mimic our irresponsible behavior and mistakes. The new consciousness, which began in the 1960s, has now reached an even larger segment of the population. This New Age movement has become a global phenomenon in recent years, and the number of people interested in it continues to grow. We are rapidly expanding, with millions of videos on the internet and thousands of books on the power of the mind, the law of attraction, overcoming fear, personal development, ancient wisdom, and much more, contributing to the growth of this enlightened community. We are approaching a point where the new age can no longer be seen as an alternative way of life, but rather as the future way of life. It is, in fact, the only way of life that can lead us to an entirely different reality, the beginning of a new era, a fresh start. It's amazing to see how people want to learn more about themselves once they become aware of their own mental power. Receiving new information or acquiring more knowledge is addictive. It's in our DNA. What's interesting is that we can no longer deny the truth once we are aware of it. Our minds won't allow us to forget information that is too crucial to our evolution. Our minds may reject this information for a while, but sooner or later we'll be able to distinguish facts from fiction. The New Age is not a religion. On the contrary, it's personal development. It's about understanding the balanced structure of life, the power of love, emotional frequencies, the power of reflection and attraction, and knowing that everything is just energy, and that everything and everyone are interconnected because we all come from the same source. It's strange that only a small number of people realize the truth and significance of this final argument. It almost seems like most people would rather adhere to some form of religion that tells them what they can and cannot do, what they can believe, and what they cannot believe, what is right and what is wrong. Why can't we just accept that we are all energy and that we come from the same source? Even mainstream science confirmed this many years ago. Why do we need religion or governments to tell us who we can be when they are responsible for almost every war in history? Why do we still give away our power when mainstream science is finally catching up with spirituality by saying that we are simply stardust? Wouldn't it be better to invest this energy in education and knowledge that enables us to improve ourselves rather than waiting for a miracle or having to pray for an answer that may never come? If we make an effort to understand what life and humanity are all about, we will eventually find answers. We can always start by asking ourselves questions and literally become the change we want to see in the world. We can be our own saviors instead of waiting or hoping for someone else to solve our problems. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Albert Einstein. Chapter 6. Forgotten Knowledge. Science and spirituality used to be two major opposites, but are now beginning to tell the same story. It seems they are getting closer and closer to discovering the true potential of the human mind. It's wonderful to see that the idea that humanity possesses divine power is taken more seriously nowadays. Scientists are finding more and more evidence that something truly amazing is happening in our brains, something that not only affects our physical bodies, health, and mood, but also the space around us. It also appears that the mysteries surrounding our emotions will be unveiled in the coming years. The true power of human emotions, the energy fields that emotions create, how our emotions are triggered by our thoughts, and how people mirror the behavior of others based on emotional frequencies. Topics that were once taboo are now more openly discussed than ever, though many scientists still hesitate out of fear of damaging their reputations. In the past, many studies were conducted in the shadows for fear of ridicule, punishment, threats, or being ignored. While this fear still lingers somewhat, more and more people seem to find the courage to speak out without worrying too much about potential consequences. Of course, challenges remain, such as being ridiculed in scientific communities or on the internet, or even losing a job. Yet, there is a growing group of people willing to overcome these obstacles. The world needs people who dare to question what they don't yet know, because only in that way can we find better answers to our questions. We are entering a time when laughing at spirituality will no longer be possible because the spiritual aspect of life will be supported by scientific evidence. We will no longer be able to deny the presence of a greater power within ourselves because it will be proven. That's what we are beginning to see today. That's what is unfolding. Until recently, people struggled to dream big because they often had to work to make ends meet, and it seemed impossible to become rich or famous if you were born into a poor or middle-class family. Today, it is entirely acceptable to pursue our dreams because we know that miracles can happen. We now realize that it's possible to gain fame through the internet or by showcasing our talents in one of the countless talent shows on television. What was considered entirely impossible just a few decades ago is now entirely normal. While it can be challenging, it's not unattainable. We evolve rapidly when we can perceive the world around us, when we are willing to open our eyes and pay attention to what's happening. It seems that people also yearn for positivity. We all love wise words, even if we don't fully understand their deeper meaning. Social networks are flooded daily with beautiful quotes and wisdom shared by people from all over the world. Even those who may not fully grasp the true meaning of love, compassion, or honesty share similar messages because it has become a new norm, a ritual we have embraced. The internet remains the primary source for discovering new, enlightening information on various subjects. However, information about the true power of the mind is unlikely to be revealed quickly by mainstream media. Unless there is no other option, it benefits them, or they are obligated to do so. Major television stations will rarely share information on taboo topics that raise questions or could impact their ratings. Why would mainstream media reveal information that could potentially harm their own financial interests or those of their sponsors and investors? If a television studio generates significant revenue from advertising by medical or pharmaceutical companies, it's unlikely they will promote alternative health products or information. Money always plays a significant role in the media, and that's why it's understandable that certain information is withheld. It seems like we are all individually awakening, as if we are seeking answers to our personal questions, to who we truly are, and what our life's purpose is. You probably recognize some of the following questions. Who am I? What do I truly want? How can I become a better version of myself? How can I develop my talents? How can I achieve financial success? How do I attain a happier life? Why can't I do what I want to do? We all strive to better understand ourselves and constantly seek new information to aid us in this process. Everyone aims to get closer to their goals and dreams. What we actually need to do is occasionally take a step back from our personal issues and take a broader look at the bigger picture. All the knowledge we need is out there for the taking, but it requires us to step out of our comfort zone, which is often the most challenging part. All the new discoveries and inventions in the world have come about because a small group of people had the courage to persevere in their quest for answers. They didn't give up until they unraveled everything. Imagine if everyone were as driven to find new answers as they were. Then we would already be traveling among the galaxies if more people were interested in acquiring knowledge, and if all people found the courage to actually pursue their dreams. But are we willing to make sacrifices to get closer to our dreams? If the answer is yes, how far are we willing to go? And is it worth it? It is essential to know what you truly want before leaving your comfort zone, because once you're outside, there's no turning back. It is fascinating to see how many scientists and researchers have suddenly become interested in the power of the mind, the existence of multiple dimensions, the presence of ancient aliens in the past, and the possible presence of extraterrestrial beings in our world today. Topics like human origins, the effects of positive thinking, telepathy, the afterlife, telekinesis, and many other themes that were not openly discussed until recently are now becoming more common. Although it can still be difficult at times to express our opinions, we are definitely making progress. We are truly on the verge of an exciting time if we continue to do what we do, which is to carry on with this kind of research or simply support the people doing it. However, there is one thing, one undeniable fact that we can never deny, and that is that all great inventions, ideas, or theories went through a period of ridicule and disbelief before being accepted or believed. Even the most unlikely ideas became possible when humanity left behind the human ego. Ultimately, we are always presented with the evidence and facts we need to evolve, regardless of what we believed in the past. The Earth eventually turned out not to be flat, even though people strongly believed in it and fiercely defended it. It is remarkable that the debate about a flat Earth is resurfacing today, with thousands of people on social media and in online videos claiming to have found evidence that the Earth is flat. Wireless phones and electric cars were once considered science fiction, but are now integral parts of our daily lives, along with countless other things we once considered impossible. We can ask countless questions about our human capabilities and dig even deeper into the nature of reality itself. But why do we keep going in circles and repeating the same experiences over and over again? Are we so afraid to let go of the past, or are we tormented by uncertainty about what the future holds? We are programmed to hold on to things we are sure of, experiences we have personally lived through, and we only let go of our beliefs when confronted with convincing evidence or hard facts. But life is much larger than what we can perceive with our own eyes, so who or what should we trust besides our own observations? Whom should we truly pay attention to? And whose information can we consider reliable? Should we trust our friends, the newspaper, the government? Who actually taught us how to interact with others? Who told us what is right and wrong? And who taught us to defend our beliefs? This is crucial because all our beliefs, ideas, and knowledge come from somewhere, and often we simply adopt what others do. Our behavior has been influenced by the outside world since the day we were born. So how do we determine what is truly important and what is not? It is clear that we have also learned bad habits along the way, and often unfairly judge others. Even someone who unquestioningly believes almost everything they are told can become angry when confronted with a different opinion. While there is a good chance that their own view may be incorrect, perhaps even a copy of someone else's belief. We have all received misinformation from sources that are unreliable and misleading, both on television and on the internet. Therefore, it is of great importance that we think critically and remain open to other perspectives. If we cling desperately to an idea that later proves to be wrong or untrue, we can make significant mistakes and harm others. What is essential here is that we do not forget our intuition, the inner feeling we experience when we perceive, feel, see, hear, or read something. If we ignore our emotions, we lose the ability to judge whether something feels right or wrong. Our body constantly responds to our environment, even if we barely consciously perceive these reactions. We often have an intuitive sense when someone is not telling the truth, but why don't we always trust those feelings? It often happens that our mind tries to believe something while the rest of our body is screaming that it's not right. Why don't we listen to those inner warning signals? It would be incredibly valuable if people trusted their emotions more and simultaneously consciously controlled their thoughts. This could solve many problems in our lives quickly. If at some point in history we had not asked questions, we would still be living in caves. By constantly asking how things can be improved, we can evolve. This positive attitude, mindset, and mentality have brought us to where we are today. And although we have come a long way, we could have gone much further if we had asked even more questions. The questions we ask today will determine who we will become tomorrow, how humanity will develop, how society will function in the future, and how people will interact with each other. There are countless topics worth exploring, and there are countless unanswered questions. The only option before you is to realize that it is up to you to make progress. Questions like, is the human race genetically manipulated? Or were the gods actually extraterrestrial beings? Should make us curious. It would be thoughtless to ignore such questions out of fear of being ridiculed. In fact, there are some astonishing pieces of evidence that could potentially provide us with answers to these questions. Therefore, it is of the utmost importance that we maintain an open mind if we genuinely want to discover the truth, instead of wasting our time ridiculing those who are seeking answers and solutions too. Our mysteries. It is also important to realize that not everything taught in school is based on hard facts or absolute truth, even though that may be hard for some to believe. School textbooks often contain personal opinions, information borrowed from other sources, speculations, and more. Study materials frequently include information that has been passed down from generation to generation without ever questioning the authenticity or origin of that so-called knowledge. Because it is printed in a book, we often assume that all the information therein is correct. It is crucial to continue thinking critically and evaluating the sources of information, even when they are presented as authoritative. It is normal for some books to contain incorrect information because we cannot keep up with everything, especially given the fact that new discoveries are made daily, especially in the field of science. It may be a positive development that paper books are now often being replaced by digital versions, as this makes it easier to replace outdated information with new knowledge. 100 years ago, it would have been unthinkable for someone to say, "We will be traveling through space in a few years," but now it is entirely normal to say that because we are already doing it. It is remarkable how people sometimes tend to deny the existence or possibility of something if they cannot see or understand it with their own eyes. Throughout our history, we have seen time and again that a period of denial is always followed by a period of total acceptance. It seems as though we only accept something once we see it with our own eyes after forming an initial judgment. This raises the question of whether this is a matter of belief, or is the biggest problem the lack of trust in the ideas and opinions of others. When we look at the Wright brothers, the inventors of the airplane, it is clear that these two individuals did not care about what others thought. They believed in the possibility of flight, even when the majority of people at the time believed it was impossible. For them, thinking that way was realistic, and they simply did what was necessary to make it happen. without losing their faith. This forms the core of many motivational speeches today, namely, to persevere and not give up. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what is realistic thinking? Why do we hinder our own evolution by labeling certain ideas, objects, dreams, and achievements as impossible or unrealistic? If everything around us has emerged from personal ideas that did not exist at some point in time, why would we think that something is unattainable? It seems that miracles can happen as long as there is at least one person who truly believes it is possible. And that often seems to be the case. We possess the divine power of creation, but often we fail to see it. Why can't we realize that? Why didn't we discover it much earlier? It's as if we thought that everything happens randomly when, in fact, life is a grand puzzle. Every day we create new things from the moment we wake up. People should not feel ignorant because they were not aware of the true power of the mind. In my opinion, most people were intentionally kept in ignorance. It took a while, but eventually, people discovered it for themselves, and no one can stop our evolution. We were once blind, but now, we are finally beginning to see the impact our thoughts have on the physical and emotional world around us. If we can turn our thoughts into physical reality, it means we possess a creative power. But is this power limited? If we can overcome gravity by building rockets and control water by constructing dams, why would life say, you can do this but you can't do that? Einstein said it, and he was right. Life has no true limits. It is up to us to stop considering things as impossible and instead view them as challenges and opportunities. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Albert Einstein. Every time we have the intention to create something new, something that does not currently exist, whether it's starting a new business, creating a video game, a new gadget, or discovering a new source of energy, we always go through 3 stages. First comes the excitement, joy, enthusiasm, followed by a period of ignorance, disbelief, doubt, uncertainty, misjudgment, or even ridicule. Eventually, there is belief, knowing, experience, proof, success, or failure. This pattern is also typical of humanity. The cycle that involves emotional shifts is always there. Before we can become aware of something, or before we can succeed at something, we go through a period of denial, doubt, and so on. The real truth is that this is normal. We have to experience one before we can experience the other. Every emotion has an opposite emotion, and we cannot know how something feels if we cannot compare it to the opposite emotion, to an emotion we know or think we know. Once we have experienced both emotional states, that is when an idea has the potential to become a reality. This is also the moment when we no longer want to talk about our moments of disbelief or doubt, as if we no longer want to acknowledge these opposite emotions, even though we have also experienced them. Are we ashamed of doubt? Do we hide our fears just as we hide our tears from the outside world? A thought or idea will always create 2 opposite emotions. It's funny that we no longer want to talk about the negative emotions we encountered once our idea became reality. If we mention anything about it, we tend to laugh, actually laughing at the fact that we once did not believe or did not know, as if we were ignorant and could not see. When we learn something new, we also hate to be reminded of the times when we did not know. Our biggest mistake is that we always want to label things we do not understand. For that same reason, we lack understanding. What our minds cannot grasp, we define through a new thought combined with an emotion. But this is how humanity has always treated new knowledge and ideas. We've done it throughout history, and we still do it today. Instead of embracing, exploring, or investigating the things we do not understand, or the matters that are not immediately familiar to us, we tend to sit back and make judgments based on our old beliefs, grounded in our past experiences. We cannot deny this form of laziness, arrogance, or ignorance, something most of us have grown up with. However, it is encouraging to see that many people are beginning to let go of similar patterns, principles they once defended, principles that no longer serve them. The power to bring change into our lives lies entirely within us. We can take the first step ourselves without waiting for a miracle, because we are the miracle itself. We are currently experiencing a shift in consciousness in many individuals. Faulty judgments and a negative ego appear to be replaced by an open mind. an attitude that does not slow down our evolution. New knowledge can more easily enter our lives when we do not try to label everything as good or bad.